Hi, this is part number 2 of Module 1, the parts of speech. Remember the first lesson of this module, I told you there were 6 parts of speech that we were going to go over in this module: the noun, the pronoun, the verb, the adverb, the preposition, and the conjunction. Well, part number 2 of this module, parts of speech, will actually cover our next 2 parts of speech. Now the first part covered the noun, the pronoun, and now I want to focus on, in this part of module 1, the verb and the adverb. So let's look at part of speech number 3, which is the verb. Now the verb, basic definition of the verb is it tells time, it expresses an action or a state of being, and it tells what a noun or pronoun does or what it actually is. So you can have action verbs and you can also have linking verbs. And linking verbs express a state of being and not an actual action. We also have 3 verb tenses. The first verb tense is, of course, the present tense. Now I have an example here. Today, the woman dances. What is she currently doing right now? She dances right now. So you do have present tense. You add an ES to it, or an S to dance, and you do have the present form, dances. Now my second tense of a verb is the past tense. Yesterday, the woman danced. She danced yesterday. It's happened already. So I do need to add a D to this regular action verb. So I do need to make dance into danced to show that it happened already. And then my third tense is the future tense of a verb. Tomorrow the woman will dance. It hasn't happened yet, and it's not happening right now, so I have to use a helping verb will to show that she will in the future, and I have to add the word dance. So she will dance in the future. She will dance tomorrow. Now we're shifting gears to our 3 types of verbs. The first type of verb is the action verb. It tells what the subject is doing and when the action occurs. So our example is the woman studied ballet. Studied is our verb. Who or what studied? We have to ask that question to find our subject, the woman. The woman studied tells us when she studied, and of course after the action, a regular action verb, I'm adding ED to it, so I know she's done it already. Our second type of verb is the linking verb. It expresses a state of being and not an action. So it's what a subject is, not what he or she is doing. And also a linking verb will link the subject of a sentence to one or more words that describe or modify the actual subject. So let's look at our example. The child is a constant dreamer. Is our linking verb. It's one of our be verbs. So we know we have a linking verb that's linking the subject of the sentence, child, to something else, another word that identifies the subject, which is dreamer. Okay, that describes the subject. So again, a linking verb will link the subject of the sentence to something that's describing it or identifying it in the actual sentence. And again, linking verbs express a state of being, okay? And action verbs tell you what the subject is doing or has done. But linking verbs is a state of being. It's what something is. Now I do have some common linking verbs for you. Appear, become, feel, grow, look, seem, am, which is a be verb. Now we have our list of be verbs at the bottom of our screen. Am, is, are, was, were, been, and being. Those are our linking verbs. Again, expresses a state of being and not what someone actually is doing. And then our third type of verb is the helping verb. It helps the main verb express a special meaning or particular time. and it always comes before the main verb. So again, the helping verb will help the main verb. So the helping verb will always come before the main verb of the sentence. But both sentences, the helping verb and the main verb, will both be the verb of the sentence. So keep that in mind as you're practicing. I have an example, two examples here. Let's look at the first one. How do you start a child care center? You is our subject. Let's turn this question to an actual sentence. You do start a child care center. You is our subject. Our verbs are do and start. Do is the helping verb that's helping our main verb start. So do, start are both the verb of the sentence. Okay. Our next example is dreams can frighten young children. Dreams is our subject of the sentence. What can dreams do? They can frighten. Can is my helping verb. My main verb is frighten. Both verbs is the verb of the actual sentence. Now I do have a list of some common helping verbs that you should be able to identify. So please, again, keep this in the back of your mind. The list starts with the word can and it ends with the verb being. So you do have some of your linking verbs like it, am, is, are, was, were, been, and being. Those linking verbs that you saw in the previous list can also be helping verbs, okay, depending what they're doing in the sentence. So keep that in the back of your mind. So these are some of your common helping verbs to start familiarizing yourself with them so that you can be able to identify them in sentences, especially in the future modules coming up in this particular course. Now I want to stop for a moment before we get to our fourth part of speech that I want to cover, which is the adverb. I just want to make it clear to you that we are going to go over these basic 6 parts of speech because it's important for you to have a foundation. It's important for you to be able to identify these basic parts of speech before you can actually get into the more complex grammatical modules that I'll have later on in this particular course. So again, it might seem tedious to you. However, we do need to be able to identify these basic parts of speech so that you can improve upon your writing and you can identify errors in your writing before you turn in actual paper. So back to our lesson on our parts of speech. Now we just covered the verb. Now I want to cover your adverb in a sentence. So an adverb, the basic definition is words that describe or modify verbs. They can also modify or describe adjectives, and they can also modify and describe other adverbs in a sentence or word group. Now, an adverb will answer the following questions. When did something happen? Where did it happen? How and to what extent did it occur? And in many adverbs, the rule of thumb is that many adverbs will end in ly, but there are some exceptions to those, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a little while. Now there are 3 functions of an adverb that I mentioned in the previous slide. The first function of an adverb is it modifies a verb. My example is the student walked happily into the classroom. Now, let's find our verb. Walked is our verb. Who or what walked? We have to ask that question to find the subject. The answer is student. So student is the subject of the sentence. Now, ask the question, how did the student walk into the classroom? Happily is the answer for that. It happens to end in ly, so we know happily is our adverb, which is modifying or coming or describing the verb walked. How did the student walk? He or she walked happily. So happily is our adverb, again, modifying our verb walked. The second function of an adverb is it modifies an adjective. And an adjective describes a person, place, or thing, or a noun or pronoun. Let's look at my example. It will be very cold tomorrow. Now, cold is your adjective. How cold will it be tomorrow? It will be very cold. Very cold is my adverb, which is modifying cold. So it's asking the question, how cold will it be? Very. So very is your adverb. Then our next function of an adverb is it modifies another adverb in the sentence. So it can describe another adverb in the sentence. Winter has come too early is our example. Early is one of our adverbs. We know it's one of our common adverbs because it ends in ly. How early has winter come? It's come too early. So the word to, T-O-O, is another adverb describing early, an adverb. Now, I do want to give you a list of some common adverbs that you can become aware of, so that when you see them in a word group or a sentence, you're able to identify and say, oh, here's an adverb. So we start with the word often, and we end with the word very. So just again, familiarize yourself with these common adverbs so that you're able to identify them in sentences or word groups. So in this particular lesson of module number 1 on parts of speech, we went over our next 2 parts of speech, which are the verb and the adverb. And again, it's important for us to actually just kind of identify these parts of speech so that you won't run into some problems later on when we actually get into complicated sentences and phrases, and you're able to say, oh, this is a noun or this is a verb, etc. So again, we have to form our foundation before we get to the more complex modules in this particular course.